reasonably optimistic, saying that the data was looking good and that there was nothing there to suggest that the country would have to deviate from his lockdown roadmap. But is he right? The ONS reported today that the prevalence of infections has risen after dropping for 5 straight weeks. It follows a rise in cases from the so-called Indian variant. So can we be sure that plans to fully open up on the 21st of June are safe? Well, I'm joined on the line now by Dr. Bharat Pankhania, Senior Clinical Lecturer at the University of Exeter Medical School and a former public health consultant in communicable disease control. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Hello, good afternoon.
Thanks very much for joining us. Just put us in the picture, because there's a lot of figures flying around. What is your assessment of the situation with both rates of infections, but also hospital admissions and deaths?
So with respect to the variant arising from India, we have noted that it is more infectious. The good news is that the people who have already been immunized appear to be protected by the vaccine against this virus. So that's the good news. The worrisome bit is, as we open up and remove the restrictions, we will see the case numbers go up as we are seeing. The case numbers going up is not being translated at the moment into hospital admissions. So that's also good. But the case numbers are expected to go up, and more so because it's A, more infectious, and B, we're removing restrictions.
So we can't say for certain whether in a week or 10 days that might not translate into higher hospital admissions. You don't have a conclusion on that yet.
No, but my hope is that it won't translate into higher hospital admissions. But if we do, then it will be very worrisome. And the reason being, these are young people who will mostly be getting infected, because the older population are now immune and mostly protected.
So given that, obviously there's a small percentage of people for whom the vaccine doesn't work, or who haven't got the vaccine and yet they're still vulnerable or elderly. But in Manchester, for example, some younger people are being given the vaccine, at speed to try and get ahead of this variant. But isn't that rather pointless, given that they're not going to be at serious risk of this virus?
That's the great unknown, because whilst mostly young people fare better when they encounter the infection, that is not always the case. On the other hand, it is also a good idea to immunize them as a public health measure, because immunized people are less likely to secrete the virus and infect others. So if I were making the decisions in hotspots, Blackburn, etc., I would immunize, blanket immunize people, young people included, to reduce the transmission of infection as well as protect vulnerable people.
Are you reasonably relaxed with all restrictions going, barring perhaps, masks on public transport in June? Are you, because Boris Johnson seems quite relaxed about that still, are you?
I'm cautiously watchful. So every day I'm watching the results in the local authorities where I'm helping out, and I'm nervous. Nervous is the best honest answer. I'm very nervous that this doesn't sort of suddenly rise and then take off. So my advice in my local authorities where I'm helping is we need to observe where these case numbers are going up. And if it is a place of interest, i.e. schools, colleges, restaurants, workplaces, then we move in fast and bring in control measures sooner rather than later. But bottom line, we are nervous.
Nervous, but nervously optimistic.
Yes, absolutely.
Dr. Bharat Pankhania, Senior Clinical Lecturer at the University of Exeter Medical School, thank you very much for joining us.